Our fourth and the last plenary session on energy sustainability, navigating the transition for apparel and textile manufacturing in Bangladesh. This session shall be moderated by Michael Claude. I request Michael Claude and all the speakers to please kindly grace the stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's fantastic that the last session of the afternoon is about energy. So we need to bring a bit of energy in the room as well. We will have a virtual connection as well, so I think that is being worked on, that this can work. And as you know, my name is Michael Claude, I'm from GIZ. So GIZ is an organization that organizes a lot of workshops and seminars, so we are very good in icebreakers. So maybe to raise the energy level a bit in the room, we can all shake a little bit our hands. Yes, please participate. We want to feel something. We want to be here in the room. And then we make a little fist. And then we touch our chin. So I didn't touch my chin. And if you didn't touch your chin, that made something of you probably. You felt why, how, and at least you felt in the room here. So thank you very much for participating. All right. But we're talking about an equally dynamic topic, as the room suggests. First of all, thanks a lot to Bangladesh Apparel Exchange, Mustafiz and all the team that is organizing this. Farouk, Salahuddin, so much work done, and we're very happy to be in this room. And the day, from my perspective, has been very successful. In the morning, we heard Salman F. Rahman describe the interest of the government of Bangladesh to consider or work on processes that would enable proper processing of post-consumer waste. That is a very interesting thing to hear. Then we heard in the Better Work panel how social discourse was described as a pending issue. BGMEA reflected on that, and this is a super important aspect as well for a sustainable approach. So to not only look at the environmental, business or governance part, but also the social aspect of this industry. Then we heard about water. We had a breakout session on circular design, which showed us the connection with upcoming EU regulations, but let's say it's more a universal trend. We don't hear so many US-American standards in these kind of conversations. We are trying always to bring them also in the room. It's not that easy, but regulations internationally or domestically that will guide our industry as well. This connection of state, government, private sector, business, producers, buyers, and the rights holders, the workers, the community in general, is something that we always have in mind when we discuss sustainability topics. The panel of this afternoon will consist of, hopefully virtually connected, Mr. Niroj Chandramondal, the Joint Secretary of Renewable Energy Power Division of the Government of Bangladesh. He is very busy in a different schedule, but he offered to connect virtually, which we appreciate a lot, and we are hoping that this can work. Then it's also a great pleasure to welcome Ms. Sarah Negru, Global Public Affairs Manager at H&M Group, and a well-known person about Bangladesh, and we are happy to have you here, of course, as well. Then Mr. Rashmikan Jawale, Regional Lead South Asia and Southeast Asia of the Apparel Impact Institute. Thank you so much for being here. And last but not least, Mr. Shafiqul Alam, Lead Energy Analyst of the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis, IEEFA, and whose article I have here in my pocket. So 2 days ago in the Daily Star, he already set a good scene of what we might discuss here as well. To approach energy for the apparel perspective, I think as a general topic, it is related to the competitiveness of the industry for the global market. This can be described from two angles that refer to the role of the state, of the government and the administration. The grid stability, the certainty of the provision of energy, and the energy mix towards more climate neutral production processes. And underneath that is the industrial setting as such, so looking at energy efficiency and the off-grid solutions that many of the producers have installed. We know that in 2022-2023, less than 1% of the electricity generated in this country came from renewable energy power generation. We also know that the sole hydro plant that was built is already 50 years in service. Another example that was shared in the media a couple of weeks ago is the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Master Plan that JICA consultants developed in 2016 with Sreda, that included data submission, that included audits for large designated industries, and it's not being implemented. There are other obstacles from the perspective of the implementation of the energy system, but there's also the general framework that a study from 2021 by Standard & Chartered described when suggesting that 78% of the multinational corporations might remove suppliers that will impede carbon transition plans by 2025. So there is a pressure from the system as such, but it's also from the business perspective an horizon of competitiveness where a proper strategy to work on carbon transition, including energy, is to be addressed. Do we have Mr. Niro Chandramondal available right now?
Yes, yes.
Oh, fantastic. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. We don't see you, but we hear you very well.
Okay, thank you.
So if I may, based on what I have started to describe, could you maybe connect and describe any plans, ideas, or implementation processes to extend the renewable energy contribution to the grid? What plans are there in the government?
Thank you, Mr. Michael Claude. Am I audible?
Yes, very good.
Yes. My co-panelist, distinguished participant, very good afternoon to you all. Before starting my speech, I make a correction, which is a deliberation from Michael Claude. It is 1% of renewable share. It's a little bit correction. It is 4%, not 1%. Current renewable energy generation capacity is more than 1200 megawatt. You can see in the SEDA website. And today's topic is energy sustainability, navigating the transition for apparel and textile manufacturing in Bangladesh. Energy sustainability. Everybody know that Bangladesh achieved 100% electrification in 2022. And our vision is to access to quality and reliable electricity in a cost-effective and affordable manner. This is very much aligned with the Sustainable Development Goal 7, that is ensure access to affordable, reliable, and sustainable and modern energy for all. And if we want to make the power system sustainable, we have to include more renewable energy in our energy mix. And in present energy mix, most of the electricity generated from gas, more than 50%, then coal about 30%, and some diesel and some HA power plant. And 4% I mentioned already, that is 4% from renewable sources. If we want to make the energy sector sustainable, I already mentioned that we have to increase our renewable energy generation. Dear moderator, you mentioned about the grid stability. Grid stability, what vision is reliability. What can we can say? You know, the renewable energy potential in our country, most of the renewable energy are variable in nature. We have only one base load renewable energy power plant, that is hydro power plant, capacity of only 230 megawatt. You already mentioned that this is constructed 60 years, 60 or 65 years ago. How can we make the power sector sustainable, energy sector sustainable? You also know that our Honorable Prime Minister expressed her vision in COP26. That is, we hope to have 40% of our energy from renewable sources by 2041. And keeping mind in this vision, which is expressed by our Honorable Prime Minister, we have already formulated some policies. That is, one is Mujib Prosperity Plan, Climate Prosperity Plan. And you also will be happy to know we are in a final stage to amending our renewable energy policies. And our energy and integrated energy and power master plan already approved by the government, though it is a dynamic document. In this master plan, many advanced technology which is addressed in the master plan, but this is not now a technologically, commercially viable situation. In master plan, there is high ambition in hydrogen and ammonia, and also a small nuclear modular reactor. But we have a in-house plan to fulfill the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister. I mentioned that our renewable energy generation capacity is only 1200 megawatt, and you will be happy to know our approved and under construction project, more than 50 projects already approved by the government and under construction. The capacity is about 4,000 megawatt. You also will be happy to know our pipeline project, which government preliminary approved the project, and this project this project are in different stages. This project is about 80 projects, the capacity of more than 8,000 megawatt. The total project under consideration, some are in the pipeline, some are in the approval already completed. The total renewable energy project we are processing, it's more than 12,000 megawatt. And you will be also happy to know that we have formulated a solar irrigation roadmap with the assistance of Asian Development Bank. We will replace about more than 2 lakhs diesel operated pump by 45,000 solar irrigated pump. And by this process, we also will be able to generate 1 gigawatt of renewable energy, solar energy from this system. We have the plan, and we have the cooperation with regional organization like International Solar Alliance, International Renewable Energy Agency, as well as ESCAPE, BIMSTEC, BBIN. And we are late starter of energy transition, but we have huge plan. We have the renewable energy potential, but it is unfortunate that we could not able to assess the renewable energy potential. This is our drawbacks. Now we are assessing how much potential we have. You will also happy to know that uh, uh, based on our EUI, International Solar Alliance uh, in the they are processing, they are assisting us to formulation a solar roadmap for 2024 to 2041. And you'll be also happy to know International Renewable Energy Agency, they are assessing our renewable energy potential. And they already engaged the international consultant as well as local consultant. International ISA also engaged the international firm for assessing our solar potential. And IRENA already engaged international consultant as local consultant for assessing our renewable energy potential. We will able to finalize these two documents by the end of this year or the first quarter of the next year. After getting these two documents, we can identify our potential, and based on the potential, our proper planning can be done. And before that, we have some study regarding onshore wind, offshore wind, waste to energy, and solar. We have the solar data around the in international data as well as in-house data. We have the potential, but one limitation is that you, dear honorable moderator already mentioned the grid stability. That's the question of grid stability. We also in this contest we also requesting IRENA to do the feasibility study. Principally, they have IRENA approved. They support us to do the feasibility study. If we do the feasibility study, able to do the feasibility study, that we can understand how much renewable energy can be injected in our existing grid, or how can we address that mass of renewable energy for grid stabilization. And of course, presently there are some solutions to stabilize the grid. Battery storage system, lithium battery storage system price is gradually downward, and we are now planning for incorporating our renewable energy with the storage system so that we can stabilize our grid. That is for stabilization. And we have some regional cooperation. You know, in South Asia region there are huge hydro potential. In Southeast Asia, we have about 350 gigawatt of hydro potential. You also will be happy to know we have that cooperation. We are the cooperation with neighboring country India, Bhutan, Nepal, and we are importing some power from India. That is about more than 1,000 megawatt, and we are this final stage to import about 50 megawatt of hydropower from Nepal. Power purchase agreement, something in the final stage. It will take 2 or 3 months. Then we can import from hydropower from Nepal. That will create a great opportunity for us. Also, we are in the process of importing those renewable energy power. We are in the process of processing in the importing. That will be baseload power plant. That is renewable baseload power plant, and that will increase our renewable energy, more renewable energy inclusion in our grid. And some private organization from they proposes us to they supply the round the clock renewable energy in our country. Some Indian company, I can mention the Renew India, Adani Group, GMR, they are proposing us some proposal with me. They supply round the clock renewable energy in our country, and we are exploring all the issue. And I hope with the assistance of the international organization and development partners, as well as the international organization, we will be able to achieve this transition. But in this transition process, there are huge investment is required to achieve this transition. This is the International Institute of Energy Economics and Financial Analysis some panelists from this organization. They have a study. They based on the without storage, only renewable energy generation. If they assume that we have to generate 25,000 megawatt of renewable energy by 2041, they assume that the investment is required about $30 billion for this transition. I hope with the assistance or cooperation of the neighboring country as well as developed partner as well as the international organization, we will able to reach this target, which our Honorable Prime Minister expressed. The generation mix will be sensed and power sector will be sustainable. Thank you, co-panelists. Thank you, respected participant. Thank you for present here.
Thank you so much for this overview. At the end, we even saw you. That was very nice. If I may just have a follow-up question before you have to leave, would it be a good space for you to wish something from the business and private sector community? Is there any way that the private sector community can support the plans, regulations, and strategies that you described?
The pipeline project and project under construction and approved, almost 80% sponsored from private sector. Almost 80%. They are very much involved in our power sector, with our power sector. Understand?
Yes, fantastic. Thank you so much. If you have still time, please keep connected so that we can.
If any question from a participant, I can answer. No problem.
Great. Then I would go to Ms. Sara Negro, Global Public Affairs Senior Manager at the H&M Group. As I sketched before, there is a pressure within the global corporations to fulfill certain targets, and not everywhere, and also not in Bangladesh, it seems very tangible that this can happen in the near future. What does that mean for your discussions, for your advocacy, for your plans, for your implementation?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is absolutely a very relevant question and particularly urgent in terms of the need of addressing it. Of course, many international companies have ambitious targets when it comes to the adoption of renewable electricity and renewable energy in general. But these days, in addition to our own ambitions, we also feel the pressure from several legislations that are upcoming in the European Union that will make definitely much more difficult for us to retain competitiveness in a market like Bangladesh if we cannot find structural solutions for some of the energy issues that we see. And when we talk about structural issues, we refer definitely to something that will address the systems constraints that we see in Bangladesh, for instance. I think we need to be extremely clear, we need to be extremely direct in addressing the problem, and we need to recognize that some of the interventions, some of the levers we are using today will not be enough to make us move to where we need to be very soon. Some of the levers we've been using has been mostly happening in the dialogue and in the negotiation with our suppliers, where we have, of course, encouraged and supported them to move towards energy efficiency, something that you were mentioning correctly before, but also towards, for instance, the introduction and the extensive use of solar panels. Now, we need to be objective. We need to understand that this will not be enough. There is no way that with these levers we will be able to make the transition we need. So we need to move towards systems that will be much more impactful. And we know that the government is very well aware of this. I think we have had very, very fruitful collaborations and negotiations, dialogue with the government. We have seen the efforts already put into some of the policies. We are just hoping to have even more. And what this could be, we believe that it's very important that we need to have a more generation of renewable electricity. After all, if there is no more generation, how can we procure it, right? I think this is really a supply-demand kind of conversation, and I think we need to approach it, first of all, in terms of the supply. So in order to stimulate more generation of renewable electricity, I think that many experts are pointing us in the direction that we need to have a reform around the corporate power purchase agreement. And this is a reform that definitely cannot be taken lightly. It is something that the government has responsibility over and needs to be, assessed and considered carefully for the many implications it will have for the economy, but that we see as a very important pivot for us to be able to do more. So with the corporate power purchase agreement, private actors will be able to generate renewable electricity. I'm oversimplifying this conversation now in this audience and in this occasion today, but private actors will be able to generate renewable electricity, and therefore private actors will be able to buy it. And the suppliers, the manufacturers in Bangladesh will be the off-takers, and this will generate much more opportunity for private actors to also participate into the generation. A key element here, I'm just going to put this forward right away, is that we also need to build a system that is credible, transparent, solid enough for international stakeholders to take notice that actually the off-takers, so the manufacturers in Bangladesh, have now the possibility to procure the renewable electricity. This basically means to have a solid system of energy attribute certificates. The way the world is actually, keeping track and accountancy of what kind of renewable electricity is used. This is what we see as the next important thing we need to work towards together, find a solution for this that is actually, of course, suitable for this market, for this economy, but that will have an incredible importance for the next year's competitiveness of the country. And we think that we have skin on the game. So this is why you have seen us operating in this space, also announcing investments directly, because we really would like to show that we are part of this conversation, that we need to have this conversation, and also willing to play our role in it.
Thank you so much. So corporate PPAs as a strategy forward as well. Maybe I come to Lashmi Kanjawale from Apparel Impact Institute. And
Mr. Claude.
Yes, please.
Before leaving, I want to share some progress regarding the corporate PPA, and which is mentioned in Sarah. And some questions is some issue related to me. I give some clarification, then I want to leave.
Please.
Can I?
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
We are working on formulated corporate PPA template, and USAID and government of Bangladesh. We had several meetings, and some idea and some critical issue is there, and addressing all the issue. USAID is trying to submit a final draft to the power division. And after submitting the draft, we will share the stakeholders, that is garment sector, apparel sector. From getting their intervention, I think we will be able to finalize our corporate PPA. But there is a complex, I already mentioned, in Bangladesh, all of the renewable sources in variable nature, no baseload power plant. So when a private sector want to make establish a renewable energy power plant like solar power plant, and a manufacturer cannot directly procure this renewable energy. This manufacturer as well as producer have to use our grid, and other critical issue. All of the IPP project owner, those who are under construction or we approve the project, government give them the sovereign guarantee. The power plant life is 25 years. Government give them are giving the guarantee. Government will procure the renewable energy for 25 years as much as this producer will generate from this power plant. There is a complexity. A private industry owner they will not able to give this guarantee for 25 years as they will procure this renewable energy from this producer. That is some critical issue. We are addressing critical issue, and also how can we give the green certificate for the industry owner. We are trying to formulate both the issue. Hopefully we will be able to reach to finalize the issue, but there are some critical issues. We are trying to address all those issues. Thank you.
Mr. Nira Chandramona, thank you so much for your words and for your participation and making time in your busy schedule.
Thank you everybody. I want to leave now with your permission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great. Now coming to your assessment, Mr. Lakshmikant Chawale, first of all, thank you again for being here. After hearing this very interesting communication over corporate PPAs, I wanted to share the example of the building code that says that over 7 or 8 stories, you need to build some photovoltaic elements in the rooftop, and then the developers put them there, and sometimes they are not even connected to anything, sometimes they're just used for the emergency doors or emergency stair lights. So there is a chance, there are different stakeholders. How do we bring incentives to the floor that allow all involved partners to move forward?
It's a tough question actually. But if you see from the facility point of view, when it comes to the decarbonization whole apparel sector, so when all it started with the energy efficiency first, because it's even if you use a renewable energy, you have to do it, because otherwise it's a wastage of the things. So it started with energy efficiency journey, and for that matter, AI is also in that journey with our Clean by Design program. So we are running a cohort in Bangladesh right now and expecting almost like 10 to 20% of energy reductions or energy like GHG saving from that project. That was one, but you are rightly said, this is not sufficiently as previously pointed out, and all are moving to the solar right now because it's a more mature solution available. Still, there are a lot of limitations for the solar, but yes, facility can go in partial for brand or for to at least have some percentage of renewable energy in their portfolio. So they installing the rooftop solar. So for that matter, rooftop solar, there are a lot of limitations. Space constraint is there, building stability is there. We are also doing one project with GIZ, as you know, that the feasibility study for the rooftop solar. So all these matters are coming, and we see that when it comes to the deployment of complete like say sector decarbonization. So I also consider that rooftop solar is not a complete solution, and even on-site availability of the energy or on-site generation of the energy through renewable resources is not possible. So we have to move outside to the premises, somewhere where it can be land availability is there and it can possible, and it can be go through the again PPA. I am also in favor of that one because that's the only option right now most feasible. I can see for the Bangladesh perspective where you can cater the requirement of facilities they are demanding, and that demand can be generated or that demand can be fulfilled through these things. But again, there are, as he said, a lot of development needs to be done, grid stability, transmission, distribution. Generation is not a problem then, but connection to the facility or minimizing the losses through the transmission. So all these things need to be taken care of. So whole, I think, ecosystem need to be developed. It's not like only focusing in one area and one direction we are get. So that's whole system we have to work it and find it out how we can create or generate the renewable energy and cater to the on floor to the facility level. That's what I feel.
Great, thank you so much. Let me go to Mr. Shafiqul Alam, Lead Energy Analyst of the Institute for Energy Economics and Financial Analysis. You were just sharing informally before the session the good news, the data that you find regarding energy efficiency. Maybe we can start from there, and then you can also react on the inputs from the Joint Secretary.
Thanks, Michael. Distinguished panelists, respected participants, very good morning, good afternoon to all of you. Regarding energy efficiency, so if I look into the data of the industry sector's contribution in real GDP term at constant prices, based on BBS, Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics data, in last 4 to 5 years, the sector's contribution has significantly increased in last 4 to 5 years. On the other hand, during the same period, number of industries have also significantly increased. At the same time, the grid electricity consumption of this sector has not increased significantly, and also, especially in last 2 to 2 years, government has not been able to supply gas to the level required, both for captive generation and also for industrial process. That, in fact, has actually been reduced in last year by 10 to 15%. So the growth and also contribution to the GDP, on the other hand, less energy consumption, both in terms of electricity and gas. So this provides a significant evidence that our industry sector has been significantly energy efficient over the years. And this is also because of, the different development agencies have been conducting, targeted programs, including energy efficiency. On the other hand, government also developed that energy efficiency and conservation master plan, which also have the compulsion to do energy audits, although it has not been yet done. Industries are not yet submitting report, not all industries, but still, because of all this system and also the availability of, although limited funding in the Bangladesh Bank, Green Refinance Scheme, but that is the cheapest funding available in Bangladesh in terms of investment. So given all those factors and industry, many of the industries, those are very smart industries, they actually invested a lot. So because of all this, actually energy efficiency has increased. And now if I come to that part, in terms of energy price, competitiveness, and the way we are projecting the sector. So in fact, low price, I must say, and I think all audience, they will also agree that cheaper energy that has significantly contributed to the development of our industry sector, particularly garments, textile, the representatives that are here, they will also agree. So once those, both electricity and gas were very cheaper compared to our comparable countries with whom we compete. But in last 2 to 3 years in particular, energy price has significantly increased in quick succession. So even the recent price hike in 3 round of price hike in 2023 and this year, just government, it has approved retroactively from 1st February. So if we calculate that, we see that more than 25% electricity tariff has increased, particularly for the industries that falls under up to 5 megawatt sanction load category. So I'm talking about that. Even beyond that, their electricity price has also increased by around 26-27%. On the other hand, last year in January, gas price hike was roughly around 150% for captive generation. So significantly, government has increased this price in last 1.5 years. So that has significant impact on the competitiveness. And if it is more when we see the data of Vietnam. I was just checking yesterday, and I saw that last November, their electricity price of different categories of industries was ranging from Taka 7.2 to Taka 8.3 or 8.5, if I'm not doing any mistake in my math. So compared to that, currently these industries belong to up to 5 megawatt sanction load. Their tariff is 10.88 in local currency terms. So that means it is already 20 to 25% expensive compared to Vietnam. So there is the competitive issue I can see. And then if I look into the captive generation, that is also a bit quite significantly expensive compared to 2022. Now what options they have? So that is also we need to think about. So yes, our esteemed speaker, he mentioned about rooftop solar. Of course, rooftop solar is one of the options. Smart industries and good industries, they have already implemented. I have also data that they are doing also good. And in terms of, since the tariff has been revised a couple of times, now this rooftop solar has quite a compelling economic case for them. It will be even more compelling because the government will have to increase based on the purchase and selling gap of the grid generation. So government will, over the next 1 or 2 years, will again adjust the price. So based on that, this rooftop solar system will be even financially more attractive for them. But one caveat is, government has a limit of 70% cap. So some industries may have more space, some may not, but government can, if government remove that cap, so some industries can even implement up to 100% of their sanction load. So that will eventually contribute to their, clean energy contribution to their whole portfolio. So that will also help reduce their GG emission a bit more, but that will not be enough. But that is one part. And the way price is increasing, and in the future will also increase, so some industries, I feel, may consider about battery storage for their rooftop system as well. Because the rate at which it is increasing, and given that government has signed the contracts for grid scale solar energy, so that is at 9.9 cents, so that is very expensive. So if we compare with that tariff, so in the few years, next few years, probably rooftop solar with battery storage will be financially viable for them. Not right now with the higher tariff and the trend of battery storage that is coming down, maybe in 2026, 27, that will be financially attractive for them. And then, obviously, corporate PPA, that is an option. I have not properly evaluated the private power sector power generation policy, private sector power generation policy, but I have checked and I found that, okay, if the power producer has the client, so that is what it was mentioning in the document. If the power producer has the client to sell that, so they can do that. But I have to again revisit that, the whole process. But I feel there should not be any problem. But there might be one problem related to the distribution utilities. So they will charge a tariff. So definitely wheeling charge, that will be there. So that will probably based on the negotiation and other things. But that would be a good option, because if IPP projects can deliver, our renewable energy sector, not only, now, in future will also probably dominated by IPPs. So in that sense, there should not have any conflict between this model and that model. So that can help. And even then, I would say this captive generation still remains economically and financially attractive to industries, despite all those tariff adjustment and everything, because still the industries with having highest efficiency, highly efficient generator, their cost is still very cheap, way cheap than the grid electricity. So considering all those, I see that in the immediate future, captive generation has a role. Their rooftop has significant role. Corporate power purchase agreement, that has a role. But we must not forget about energy efficiency. Industries have done really well in the last 5 to 6 years, 7 years, but there is still untapped potential, because I have analyzed data of 40 to 45 industries in last 4 or 5 weeks. So, I directly discussed with them, and so I found that roughly 50% of the industries, just over 50%, they have already implemented waste heat recovery boiler. But the remainder have not yet. Some of them have a plan, but some are not, have not yet taken any plan. So if we consider that there is the potential also to reduce consumption, that means the target H&M has. Again, only a fraction of the industries are using engine water, jacket water for cooling tower or chiller from that 45 industry data, because there I see roughly around 200 captive generators within that, inside that 45 industries. So if that can be used, there is also the significant energy saving potential. And given that the way gas price has increased, I think industries will also find it financially lucrative. So yeah, I think both renewable energy, including decentralized system, grid, and then energy efficiency, all will have significant role. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very impressive. So maybe for both Mr. Jawale and Ms. Negro, I mean, decarbonization as a strategy, as a path is one thing, but specific, let's say, costs reactions based on carbon border adjustment mechanisms or other systems that will make the product more expensive if it is produced with a high level of energy. Leads me to the question, do we have any experiences from this region or from other places that we could look into to see how, under similar circumstances, governments, countries, sectors have anticipated these processes? I don't know if you could share something from any of the neighboring countries, how they try to decarbonize the energy mix in a successful way.
Okay, so my experience is currently with energy efficiency, as our projects are widely working in China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Bangladesh, India region, and even in South America region. So if you see from that point of view, there not that much efforts. If at all you need an investment, whatever the identified action plan is there, that will be returned back in maximum 18 months. That was our aim of our program. So I consider that is only a short investment, and you will get payback in 18 months maximum. And most of the other energy efficiency practices are that based on the maintenance practices. So which facility can do with just their team, and they don't have to invest that much for any kind of instrument, something like that. So for that matter, I see that if at all investment is required, that is again a payback is possible, and if at all the maintenance is required, that is in-house available. So energy efficiency can be easily done, but for the rooftop solar point of view, I see little bit challenges for facilities to get the financial backing to install, because identifying the capability and doing the assessment study, that's fine. But then when it comes to the actual installation of the rooftop solar, and then the payback time is maybe 5 years, and sometimes it may happen that facility don't have that priority right now. They need to go for the expansion of the facility. They need to go for the increase in production plan. So that in that way, some challenges is faced in installation of the big investment projects. But for energy efficiency, right now, going with smoother and smoother things. And in future, we will be also coming with the sustainable finance, blended capital sustainable finance thing. So that strategy is under development. So once that is available, then I am pretty sure that it will be helpful for the facilities to not only take the decision, but directly implement and get that particular reduction from their facility.
Thank you.
Talking about best practices and what we have learned by doing a little bit of an assessment also in other countries. Well, what we found out is that, for instance, in India, the power purchase agreements are readily available for our suppliers. And this has contributed over time, in a period span of around 8 years, to actually a stabilization of the price of electricity and the decline of the price of electricity. Because basically when you inject more competition into the energy market, that is actually one of the foreseeable actually impacts that you could expect. And we have actually seen it materialize in India for our suppliers. So this is definitely something that we can consider, knowing that, of course, every market is different, right? So we need to find the right policy solution that is actually suitable for the characteristics of every market. I think that the next frontier will be in terms of, again, looking at best practices and looking at how we can use the finances that are already available. I think the next frontier will be to have a very well thought through reflection on how we make use of the subsidies and the financing lines that are already available in Bangladesh. The question is, are they directed at the best possible outcomes, or can we find solutions by which we do not change the quantity of the subsidies, but we maybe direct them into areas that would make more impact? We have heard that there are already subsidies a lot into the energy market. Some of these are maintaining, subsidies for the players in the energy market in Bangladesh. I wonder if some of those subsidies could be considered to be moved towards the new frontiers. The new frontiers for us is the electrification. After all, there is no sustainable systemic solution when you look at thermal energy. Thermal energy can only be produced in a few ways, none of them really sustainable, none of them with a very low carbon intensity. So if we want to change these processes that have a very big contribution into the GHG emissions overall, we need to electrify those processes. And for electrification, we are all very aware there are needs for financing because the process will not be easy. There will be a few steps. So we're already engaging, of course, in this area, also here in Bangladesh with pilots and experimenting technologies. We are doing the same in other production markets. I think that we are really keen to have the conversation whether whenever we have proof of concept, if we can find ways for having a collaborative conversation with the government and see how we can join forces for this that is really the next frontier for all of us.
Thank you very much. We have 7 minutes left, so if there are any pressing questions from the audience or wishes to participate in the conversation, please identify yourself. If not, I will also request Bestseller to share their experience. Please briefly introduce yourself, and if you have a question, direct it to one of the panelists.
Hi, thank you very much for the lovely presentation for all the panelists. My name is Vidura Ralapanawa. I represent a big group, which is a large manufacturer based out of Hong Kong, but large facilities here. So I think there are 2 points that I wanted to make on this.
Can you maybe speak up a little bit?
Sorry, 2 points I wanted to make out of this. One is that if you take something like energy attribute certificates or renewable energy certificates, these are not solutions that actually change the emissions in any country. I'm not saying it. This is said by the team that is appointed by appointed to review the GHG protocol rules. There's a publication in Nature. So one of the things when we are talking about energy transition, we need to step away from these type of solutions and ask what is actually transforming the overall energy equation in the country. So this is, I think, point 1. And then the second point is really around policy. I understand the kind of urgency to talk about power purchase agreements, but I think there are a lot more policy incentives that we can actually work on in Bangladesh that will fast track energy transition. So for example, quite a lot of the material that we need for energy efficiency, we have to import, and that comes with very, very heavy duty. So that duty variation, that's something that we can work on. For example, BEPSA zones doesn't allow renewable energy net metering. So I think we need to have a more robust conversation about what policy can support this transition. I think there is a tendency to look at shortcuts, and to me, the hard work is what you said, is really starting from energy efficiency, because that will make a fundamental change in this country and economies of the factories that we are there. Third point, and this is the last, I think we need to have an honest conversation about how to finance the transition. If you think about this industry and any target that we have placed for 2030, I don't think businesses in this country can sustain it, and if that money is coming from abroad, whether the economy can handle it. How do we finance this transition? Where is the money coming from? Can we take foreign currency debt into this country to fund that transition? And the answers are no. From a side of the manufacturers, and this is part of the problem, because we assume that energy transition will be completely and will be funded by manufacturers taking debt. This industry, these manufacturers currently cannot take so much debt to meet any of these targets, whether it's energy or whether it's water. So one of the things that I suggest that we do is that we have to have honest conversations about the sustainable transition. What does it take? How much money is it going to take? How is that money coming in? How is that money going to be spent? If we don't do that, we are just talking above the surface. And what we do will stay above the surface as talk and not as action.
Thank you very much. Points well taken. I think, and Mr. Shafiqul Alam maybe can react to that as well. It's also difficult, I'm not an energy expert, but it's also difficult for the energy sector in Bangladesh to balance the current, let's say, survival mode with a proper transitional strategy.
Okay, thank you. If I properly understood your points, so in relation to first, I'm coming to the energy efficiency part. So yeah, for that, eventually we need a systematic process. So the thing developed by SREDA, in fact, I was also part of that in developing the energy audit regulations in 2016. At that time, I was with GIZ. It was later approved in 2018. So the government has to enforce that, right? And has to do that. Periodically, the energy audit should be there, and government also need to monitor that. As Joseph Stiglitz said, if you don't monitor the right thing, you cannot do the right thing. So if I said that properly. So here it has to be a proper enforcement and also proper monitoring process. Otherwise, you cannot ensure energy efficiency. And regarding the energy transition finance, so if we think it from another dimension, if we find money for all LNG-based and other fossil fuel-based, money for other LNG and fossil fuel-based projects, so definitely we will have money for renewable energy. And if we look into the financial landscape across the globe, the money available, most of the money, a significant part of that is available for clean energy. But multilateral agencies like ADB, World Bank, they have, they are not going to finance anymore this coal, for example, or LNG. So even if we don't consider that, we need to look into the balance sheet of our power sector. We can see that significant financial deficit every year. Let's say last year it was 50,000 crore. That means it's a 5 billion, close to $5 billion. So if that is the case, we can gradually redirect money to the clean energy to make the loss in that portfolio. So we can do that. And of course, I agree, we should have a conversation, honest conversation, clear conversation for this energy transition. Policymakers, experts, private sector, even every stakeholder should have their stake. So I do agree with that. While government has approved the IEPMP, Mr. Nirod Chandra Mandal, probably, if I don't rightly pronounce his name, he also mentioned that it's a living document. So that means there is the opportunity for making amendment correction in the coming years, because he also mentioned that he also doesn't find some of the technologies mentioned in that plan financially viable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No sound. It just went to 0000. So we were fantastically on time. if there is no other pressing urgency, I would yes, please. You have the last word of the Sustainable Apparel Forum 2024.
Actually, my question is for more relevant to Mr. Mondal, but right now he is not available, but I think Mr. Alam can answer my question. You know, in Bangladesh, there is a guideline regarding installation of rooftop solar. It's called the NEET metering guideline. According to this guideline, a factory or organization can install 70% of their sanction load. For example, if a factory has a potential to install around 2 megawatt, but their sanction load is say 1 megawatt, in that case, they only install around 700 kilowatt. So my question is that this guideline is contradictory to our target, like increasing the renewable energy in our energy mix?
Thank you for the question. So I will not discuss whether it is contradictory or not, but the thing is, in our study, we have time and time again substantiated that this is a economically beneficial proposition if government lifts that cap. Because with more rooftop solar, what will happen, government will be able to reduce its fossil fuel import. Because during the peak hours, government is using expensive well-fired power plants. So those are diesel and furnace well. With rooftop, what will happen? It is a double dividend. One is industry will reduce its cost. On the other hand, government will be able to reduce its import, this expensive oil import. So it's a double dividend for that. And I came to know from Rabbi Bhai that government is considering that. So probably government will lift that cap. Thank you.
That is a promising information to end with. I thank you very much, dear panelists. Again, to the organizers, Bangladesh Apparel Exchange, and also to our partners, ILO Better Work, WaterAid, and GIZ. Thanks a lot, and now I hand over to the Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you very much, Michael, for spontaneously handing the moderation. Ladies and gentlemen, that was all from the Energy Sustainability Navigating the Transition for Apparel and Textile Manufacturing in Bangladesh.